Welcome to the CEC lecture series. You're with me, Surbhi Unyal, and I teach philosophy at Hansraj College, University of Delhi. Friends, we are doing a special lecture series under the symbolic expressions. And in this series, today we are discussing Mīmāṃsa's metaphysics. And we have with us Miss Manisha, who is going to interpret my lecture in sign language. So, we were discussing about Sankhya metaphysics. In continuation to that, today in this lecture, we will be discussing the theory of causation. That according to Mīmāṃsakas, each phenomena can be explained only by the theory of potent energy in the cause. If the potent energy is absent, no effect would be observed. An example can clarify this notion here. Suppose if we fry a seed and sow in the soil, it won't sprout. The reason is the potent energy of the seed is consumed in the process of burning it. So it says that there is a potent energy which is present in every cause. And if the potent energy is absent, no effect can be produced. As in the case of a seed which we have fried and then we have sown it in the soil, but it will not be able to sprout out. Why so? It is because the potent energy of the seed is consumed in the process of burning it. So a seed possesses in it an imperceptible power which is known as Shakti, with the help of which it can produce the sprout. When this power is obstructed or destroyed, as for example in the case of frying the seed, it fails to produce that effect. Because in this case we have obstructed or we have destroyed the potent energy that is present in the seed. Similarly, there is the power of burning in fire, power of expressing meaning and inducing activity in a word, the power of illumination in the light, and so on. The necessity of admitting such unperceived potency in the cause is that it explains why in some cases, though the cause, that is the seed or fire, is there, the effect, that is the sprout or burning, does not take place. And this is precisely the reason that the potent energy might have been destroyed or they might have been obstructed, due to which the effect does not take place. So the explanation is that in such cases, though the cause substance is there and its causal potency has been destroyed or overpowered temporarily, as the case may be, by some obstructing condition obtaining there, and which has then led to the non-existence or effect not being produced. So one important application of this theory of potency made by the Mīmāṃsakas is for the solution of the problem how an act like a sacrifice performed now bears fruit after a long time, say after this life or in heaven, when the action has ceased. So we can relate here the theory of causation and that potent energy that we had mentioned in the case of seed or in other causes, that can be related here, and that has in fact an application in the case of Mīmāṃsa philosophy when they are trying to understand how an action like a sacrifice performed now will bear its fruits after a long time, when the action has already ceased, yet the fruits can be produced. So it is held that the rituals performed here generates in the soul of the performer an unperceived potency, that is, power for generating the fruit of the action, called the apurv, which remains in the soul and which bears the fruit when the circumstances are favorable. So, the rituals that are performed here or now, that generates in the soul, because since the soul is the performer, so it will generate in the soul an unperceived potency or the power or the shakti. What kind of potency? To generate the fruit of the action or the ritual that the soul is performing now, and it remains in the soul and it bears the fruit when the circumstances are favorable. With this, let us now understand the notion of self according to the Mīmāṃsakas. So about the self, Mīmāṃsakas admit that there are innumerable selves that exist in the world. For them, souls are of two sorts. One is liberated souls and the other is the living soul, that is the individuals of the earth. This implies every living being possesses a distinct self or soul. And they regard the self as an eternal, nitya, omnipresent, or infinite, or you can say infinite substance, which is the substratum of the consciousness, and which in fact is the real knower or enjoyer and the agent. So, Mīmāṃsakas, they are accepting that there are innumerable selves that are existing in the world, and these innumerable souls are also divided into two, or they are sorted into two categories. The first being the one is the liberated souls, and the other are the living souls, the individuals that are living on the earth. And this basically implies that every living being possesses a distinct soul or the self. Now the characteristic of the self is that it is eternal, it is an infinite substance. And since it is an infinite substance, this infinite substance is a substratum of consciousness. That means it is that where the consciousness will reside, since it is considered to be a substratum. And this soul or the self, that is the real enjoyer, or you can also say real knower and the agent. So it is Gyata, Bhokta and Karta. Self is different from the body. It is different from the senses and mind, and the understanding. The self is the enjoyer, it is the bhokta. The body is the vehicle of enjoyment. The senses are the instrument of enjoyment. And the internal feelings and the external things are the objects of enjoyment. And that is how they have tried to describe this whole connection between the body, the self, the senses, and the mind. So consciousness is not regarded as the essence of the self. Prabhakar holds that self is essentially unconscious and that consciousness is only an accidental quality which may or may not be possessed by the soul substance. Cognition, feelings, and volitions are the properties of the self and arise due to the merit and the demerit. And in liberation, which is due to the exhaustion of merit and demerit, the self remains as a pure substance, divested of all its qualities, including the consciousness and the bliss. So in the state of liberation, we are even exhausted of our merits and the demerits or any other kind of qualities, be it consciousness or bliss as well. While Kumaril, in contrast to Prabhakar, regards consciousness as a model change, or you can say parinam in the self. It is the mode, an act, a process of the self by which the self cognizes the object. It is neither the essence nor an accidental static property of the self. So Kumaril regards the self as identical as well as different, as changeless as well as changing. As substance, it does not change and always remains the same. As modes, it undergoes change and becomes diverse. The substance remains the same. It is only the modes which appear and which disappear because they are undergoing a change. So modal change does not militate against the permanence of the self. The self is wholly unconscious as Prabhakar believes. It is conscious unconscious. So, as substance, it is unconscious. As modes, it is conscious. So, self is characterized by the potency to know. Potential consciousness is the nature of the self. Kumaril too, like Prabhakar, believes that in liberation the self remains as a pure substance, divested of all qualities, and modes include consciousness and bliss. Though he adds that self then, as in deep sleep, is characterized by potential consciousness. So these are the viewpoints that are held by Prabhakar and Kumaril in connection to the notion of the self and consciousness. Kumaril says that there is no knowledge of the self as we have. The knowledge of the external objects like tree, like that of grass, birds, etc. Thus for him, self is the object of self-consciousness. Further, he states that when we concentrate on self, we realize that I exist. So Kumaril is making an important contrast here by saying that we cannot have the same knowledge as we have of the external objects, like trees, like birds, table, whatever is there in the external world. Thus for him, self is the object of self-consciousness. So we know the self through self-consciousness. And here he states that when we concentrate on the self, so when we are having a self-consciousness and we are concentrating onto ourself, that is when we realize that I exist. Refuting this view, Prabhakar Mīmāṃsakas, they expresses that the self can't be the subject and object of same knowledge. It is so because one thing can't be both. It can't be the doer and the deed at the same time. And in addition to that, the function of the doer and the deed are opposite or contrast to each other. So for him, the self can't be the subject and the object of the same knowledge. Thus, on the account of Prabhakar, an objective knowledge constitutes of three constituents: the knower, the known, and the knowledge. All these three constituents are known simultaneously for acquiring the knowledge of an object. For example, if I say that I know this table, here the knower is I, the known is the table, and the knowledge that acquires is about the object, that is the table. And in this way they have both discussed what is the self, what is the consciousness, and about the subject and object of knowledge. With this we will come to our last topic for today, which is on dharma, which is one of the most important topics in Mīmāṃsakas. So Gemini, he defines dharma as a command or injunction which impels men to action. It is the supreme duty, the ought, the categorical imperative. Arth and Kam, which deal with ordinary common morality, are learned by worldly intercourse. But dharma and moksha, which deal with true spirituality, are revealed only by the Ved. So dharma is suprasensible and consists in the commands of the Vedas. Action is the final import of the Ved, which commands us to do certain acts and to refrain from doing certain other acts. So if we look at the Purusharths, the fourth Purusharth, or Dharma, Arth, Kam, Moksha, in these four types of Purusharths, we are now focusing upon the Dharma. And this Dharma, it is considered as a command, or it is considered as an injunction which impels men to action. And it is considered as the supreme duty. As you can say, it is considered as an ought or the categorical imperative that a man or a person has to do this supreme duty. So they are saying that Arth and Kam, which deal with the ordinary common morality, that is what we learn from the worldly experience or worldly relationships that we have in the society. Earth and Kam are known by these worldly affairs. But Dharma and Moksha, which deal with true spirituality, they are revealed only by the knowledge of the Ved. So Dharma is considered as supra-sensible, and it consists in commands of the Vedas, that what we need to do and how we need to do that which is written in the Vedas. And action is considered to be the final import of the Veda, that means that which commands us to do certain things or refrain us from doing certain other things. So it is something which tells us what we have to do and what we need to refrain from doing. And action becomes the final import of those commands that are there in the Veda. So Dharma and Adharma, they deal with happiness and pain to be enjoyed or suffered in the life beyond. Action performed here produce an unseen potency, which is the apurv in the soul of the agent, which yields fruit when obstructed. Obstructions are removed and time becomes ripe for its fructification. The apurv is the link between the act and its fruits. It is the causal potency, the Shakti in the act which leads to this fructification. Actions are first divided into three kinds: obligatory, which must be performed for their volition results in sin, though their performance leads to no merit. Second is optional, which may or may not be performed. Their performance lead to merit, though their non-performance does not lead to sin. And then comes prohibited, which must not be performed, for their performance leads to sin, though their non-performance does not lead to merit. So these are the three types of actions that are being stated in the Vedas, and that has been accepted by the Mīmāṃsakas. The earlier Mīmāṃsakas believed only in Dharma and not in Moksha, and their ideal was the attainment of heaven or Swarg. But the later Mīmāṃsakas believed in Moksha and substitute the ideal of heaven by that of liberation, which is known as Apavarg. Prabhakar and Kumaril both believe that the goal of human life is liberation, though both conceive it in the negative manner. So with this we come to an end of our lecture on Mīmāṃsa philosophy. Thank you so much for watching the lecture and hope to see you in the next lecture. Thank you so much, and thank you, Ms. Manisha, for interpreting the lecture. Thank you.